Nobody saw her coming. One day, the skies above London went completely silent. No birds, no wind. Just a strange, cold stillness that made people stop and look up. And then she appeared. She was tall, impossibly beautiful. Her eyes glowed like green fire. And she was not human. But here is the shocking part. She did not come to destroy anything. She did not come to conquer. She came to find one specific person. One human man. And when she found him, everything changed forever. This is not just a story about an alien. This is not just a story about a vampire. This is the story of a hidden society that has existed for thousands of years. A society that operates in the shadows. A society that most humans will never know about. And a society that this one extraordinary woman secretly controls. By the end of this video, you are going to discover 3 things that will blow your mind completely. First, you will learn who this alien vampire woman really is, and where she actually came from. Second, you will discover the secret society she controls, and what their true mission on Earth really is. Third, you will find out how one ordinary human man from a small town in the United States became the most important person in the entire universe. So stay with us, because this story gets wilder with every single minute. Let me show you exactly how this happened. The night it all started was a Tuesday. Marcus Webb was 28 years old. He lived in a small apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. He worked at a grocery store, stacking shelves. He had no special skills. He had no special powers. He was just a regular guy trying to get through the week. Most people who knew Marcus would describe him the same way. Quiet. Polite. Keeps to himself. Nothing about him stood out. Nothing about him suggested that one day the entire fate of Earth would rest on his shoulders. His brain filed that observation away and said nothing about it out loud. "My name is Seraphine," she said, "and I am the commander of the Vayreth Order." Marcus had never heard of the Vayreth Order. He said so. "I know," she said. "Most humans have not. That is by design." She glanced upward briefly. The ship above them was still there. Still humming. Still massive. "We do not have much time out here," she said. "I need you to come with me." Every single instinct in Marcus Webb's body told him to say no. Every survival mechanism his human brain had built over 28 years of life on Earth told him to back away slowly, turn around, and run as fast as his legs could carry him. Instead, he said, "Okay." He would think about that choice many times in the years that followed. He would wonder what made him say it. Was it curiosity? Was it something in her voice? Was it the strange calm that seemed to radiate from her like warmth from a fire? He never found a satisfying answer. He just knew that in that moment, saying no felt impossible. Not because she forced him, not because she threatened him, but because something deep inside him recognized her. Something deep inside him had been waiting for this exact moment without ever knowing it. She turned and walked back toward the beam of light. She paused and looked back at him over her shoulder. "Come," she said simply. Marcus took a breath. He looked at his headphones, still hanging around his neck. He looked at the empty street behind him. He thought briefly about his apartment and his sandwich situation and his Tuesday night. Then he stepped forward and walked into the blue light. The moment his foot crossed the edge of the beam, the cold disappeared. The frost. The night air. All of it gone, replaced by something warm and still, and humming with a frequency he could feel in his chest. They rose together. Him and this glowing-eyed woman who had traveled across unknown distances to find him specifically. One planet was pulsing softly, blue-green, small. Earth. "This is why you are here," Seraphine said. She touched the pulsing planet gently with one finger. The map zoomed in. Continents appeared. Oceans. Cities as points of light. "Earth has been under the protection of the Vayreth Order for 600 years, she said. "In that time, we have prevented 14 extinction-level events from reaching your planet. We have deflected 2 asteroid collisions. We have intervened in 3 biological attacks from hostile species. We have done this without your knowledge and without your consent, because the alternative was your annihilation." Marcus stared at the map, at his planet rotating slowly in the air above the table. "Why?" he said. "Why protect us?" The room was very quiet. Seraphine looked at him steadily. "Because of what humans will become," she said. "Not what you are now. What you will be. He is coming specifically for you," she said. "He knows your name, Marcus. He has known it longer than you have been alive. You are not a bystander in this. You never were. You were always the target." Marcus did not sleep that night. They gave him a room, or what passed for a room on the Veyrath ship. It was small and curved like everything else. The walls gave off a faint warm glow. There was something that functioned like a bed. He lay on it and stared at the ceiling and thought about everything Seraphine had told him. A warlord named Draveth. 9 destroyed worlds. Coming for Earth. Coming for him specifically. He thought about Cleveland. About his apartment. About the grocery store where he stacked shelves every night. About the completely ordinary Tuesday that had existed only a few hours ago. That Tuesday felt like it belonged to someone else now. In the morning, or what the ship designated as morning, Seraphine came to his room. Something that would change everything. And Draveth knew it too. Draveth was not like most threats the Order dealt with. He was not a warlord in the conventional sense. He did not command armies or build empires. He was older than that. Much older. He predated most of the civilizations currently operating in the galaxy. What Draveth did was consume. He was a being of pure predatory power. He had evolved, over thousands of years, the ability to absorb the consciousness and life force of other beings. Not kill them, absorb them. Every being he consumed added to his power, added to his knowledge. He carried within him the accumulated minds and memories of billions, and he had identified Earth. He had studied humanity the way a hunter studies prey, and he had identified the precise bloodline that would produce the key individual. The reason you can survive contact with him when no other human can is a specific quality in your neural structure, a resistance that exists naturally. But it is not enough on its own. We need to develop it. Strengthen it. You have 12 days. 12 days to prepare for the most dangerous being in the galaxy. Yes. Marcus looked at her. And you think I can do this? She met his gaze. Steady. Certain. I know you can do this. How? He asked. How do you know? She was quiet for just a moment. Just long enough for Marcus to notice. Because I have seen it happen, she said carefully. You have seen me defeat him? Another pause. Slightly longer this time. I have seen versions of this situation play out, she said. In predictive modeling. In probability analysis. Marcus studied her face. Those ancient green eyes. That is not what you were going to say first, he said. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, No, it was not. She stood up. Training begins in 1 hour. Earlier, when I asked how you knew I could do this, you started to say something and then changed it. She was still. What were you actually going to say? He asked. The room was very quiet. Seraphine looked at him for a long time. Longer than she usually did. Those green eyes moving across his face like she was reading something written there. Then she said, Because I have seen you before. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? In the records of the Order, she said slowly. There are documents going back 2,000 years. Prophecy documents. Not superstition. Not religion. Predictive documents generated by the most sophisticated probability engines the Order has ever built. Run over generations by the greatest analytical minds across 17 worlds. She paused. Your face appears in those documents, Marcus. Your exact face. Your name. The location where you were born. The nature of your resistance. All of it documented 2,000 years before you were born. My species shares characteristics with what humans call vampires, she said. We are long-lived. We require a specific biological nutrient found in the blood of warm-blooded species. We have enhanced physical capabilities, enhanced sensory processing. We are uncomfortable in certain light frequencies. So yes, Marcus said. So yes, she confirmed. And the wings? The horns? he said, thinking of the images he had seen in the Order's records. Ancient drawings of her, more dramatic than the composed figure beside him now. Those are ceremonial manifestations, she said, for formal command situations. They are biological but controllable. I choose when to display them. Marcus thought about this, about what it meant to be 400 years old and carrying the weight of 17 worlds and the future of humanity on your shoulders. You have been protecting Earth for 600 years, he said. The Order has. But you have been commander for 300 of those years. Yes, that is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said about us, he said. She turned to look at him, those green eyes very close. It is simply the truth, she said quietly. Something passed between them in the silence after that, something that neither of them named. Marcus felt it like a change in pressure, like the atmosphere of the corridor had shifted slightly. He looked away first, back at the opposite wall. Tell me about Draveth, he said. Not what he does. Who he is. Was he always this way? Seraphine was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, more careful. No, she said. He was not always this way, she told him then, about Draveth's origins, about the civilization that had produced him. They had been a philosophical people. Scholars, seekers of knowledge. Their entire culture had been built around the accumulation and sharing of information. Knowledge was sacred to them. Knowledge was life. And Draveth had been the greatest mind among them. And there were tears in those ancient green eyes. The first time he had seen anything like tears in her. Those are the exact words. The 40th hour arrived. Draveth's ship did not look like a ship. It looked like a wound in space. A dark irregularity. A place where the stars stopped existing. It moved with terrible slowness and terrible certainty, like something that had never been in a hurry because nothing had ever been able to stop it. The Order's ship had taken up a position above Earth's atmosphere. Below them the planet turned, blue and white, and unaware. 8 billion humans going about their lives, Tuesday mornings in grocery stores, and headphone playlists. None of them knowing what was happening in the sky above them. The senior members of the Order were assembled. 400 beings. Every one of them watching the dark wound in space grow larger on their displays. Seraphine stood at the center of the map room. She was in full manifestation now. The great black wings spread wide behind her, the dark horns rising from her head, her eyes brighter than Marcus had ever seen them. Green light spilling into the room around her. She was extraordinary. She was 400 years old, and 300 years of command and the weight of 17 worlds, and she was the most extraordinary thing Marcus had ever seen in his life. She looked at him across the room. It is time, she said. The echo strand had been placed 3 days ago. He could not feel it. But he knew it was there. The bridge between them. The anchor. The plan was simple. Draveth would need to come aboard. He would not be forced. He never was. Draveth came to his targets. He had always come to his targets. They would allow him to board. They would bring him to a contained space. And Marcus would be waiting. Everything depended on what happened in those 4 minutes. The dark ship touched the edge of the Order's vessel. The connection was made. The airlock opened. Is there any way to give you what you are looking for without taking it by force? Without destroying everything you touch? Is there a version of this where you stop being alone? The containment room was absolutely silent. Draveth did not move. He stood with his hand raised, and his 3,000 years of hunger in his black empty eyes. And something moved across his ancient face that none of the 400 beings watching had ever seen on him before. Something cracked. It was subtle, like a hairline fracture in stone. But it was real. It was visible. And in the silence after Marcus's question, it widened. Because no one had ever asked him that. In 3,000 years of hunting and consuming and destroying, no one had ever looked at him and asked if he could be helped. They had fought him. They had fled from him. They had studied him and feared him and built weapons against him, a way to share knowledge and experience and even emotion between different types of minds. Consensual. Reversible. Real. It would take years to develop. Draveth agreed to wait. He agreed to stop. He agreed to submit to the Order's care while the work was done. The 9 worlds he had consumed could not be restored. That loss was permanent and enormous, and no one pretended otherwise. But no 10th world would fall. Earth would never know how close it had come. 8 billion humans would wake up the next morning, and the morning after that, and the morning after that, unaware of what had happened in their sky. But the universe was different now. Because one man had asked one question instead of fighting. 3 months later, Marcus stood at a window on the Order's ship. Below him, Earth turned in its slow, quiet orbit. He had been back twice in those months, once to sort out his apartment, once to resign from the grocery store. He had left a very confusing note for his landlord, the 2,000-year-old documents. They describe the confrontation with Draveth and your question, and what follows. They describe the beginning of the Consciousness Bridge project and its eventual success. They describe you staying with the Order. What else do they describe? He asked. She was very still for a moment. They describe what you and I become to each other, she said quietly. Over time. Marcus looked at her ancient green eyes and her 400 years, and her 300 years of responsibility, and the tears he had seen once when she finally believed it was going to be all right. And what do we become? He asked. They do not specify, she said. They only say that neither of us is alone anymore. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked back at Earth. Then he looked at her again. 2,000-year-old documents, he said slowly. Do you believe them? She thought about it seriously. The way she thought about everything, carefully and honestly. And if you want to go deeper, watch the next video right now. It is another Hafey story, and it starts with something even more impossible than a vampire alien landing in Cleveland on a Tuesday night. We will see you there.